fair warning, I'm going live on our Facebook, so nothing you don't want the world to hear.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. Today we're going to hold this press conference. U.S. Attorney Roger Handberg called this to highlight one of our significant cases and some of the others. But just to let everybody know, on May the 28th, we had a significant case that was generated from our HIDA team, our drug interdiction team. This thing all started with, a lot of people don't understand that we do a lot of training and we have a lot of partnerships with different agencies. And that's why this is really so significant to highlight. Some of our HIDA guys, we work really close with Lowndes County out of Georgia, and that's where Sheriff Polk is sheriff up there in Lowndes. But some of our guys we have different cases that go back into, or different incidents that go back into. They wanted to do some additional training, and I can tell you that the reputation that Lowndes County has up there for their traffic interdiction is just phenomenal. And I know that most folks don't speed through there because of their interdiction action that they have up there. They have a very good group up there. So our guys wanted to get some of their training. We did all the legal things that we could partner and make sure that we were on board with all the legal things. So they came down, did the training, did a 2-day training, and then on our very first day out, there was a significant interdiction that took place that seized 30 kilos of cocaine with a street value over $1 million. This was a 3-day operation, and during that operation, there were 3 arrests made, and we had, in addition to the 30 kilos, there was Xanax, methamphetamine. We had 95 Xanax pills, 35 grams of oxycodone, 3 arrests, and a little over $20,000 in U.S. currency. So it was a very successful operation, but that's because of the partnership and the relationships that we've developed over the years. At this time, I want to ask U.S. Attorney Roger Handberg to come up. Before I do, though, I did want to introduce. We have John Dubet, who is our state attorney here locally, Chief Butler, who's our chief of police here, and they are a big part of this as well. But then with our federal partners, this is able to take it to a higher level. And we have Roger Handberg here with us, who is the U.S. attorney, and Mike Dubet, who is the assistant agent, special agent in charge with the drug task force.
Well, thank you very much, Sheriff. I'm honored to be here today with Sheriff Hunter, Sheriff Ashley Polk of the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Mike Dubet with the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, Chief Gerald Butler with the Lake City Police Department, and State Attorney John Durrett to recognize their office's important work in combating drug trafficking. Each of these agencies has done and continues to do an excellent job of protecting their communities from those who traffic in dangerous drugs. It is a goal that my office shares, and we are honored to partner with them to prosecute cases in federal court that will serve to protect the public. As the United States Attorney for the Middle District of Florida, I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer for 35 counties in Florida. Columbia County is one of the counties I get the chance to work with and serve. Because of the terrible impact that drugs have had on the communities that my office serves, we have increased our resources to prosecute more drug trafficking cases in federal court. Over the past 2 years, my office has increased our drug trafficking prosecutions by 35%, and we are on track for another increase of 15% this year. Most of our federal drug trafficking cases involve the 3 drugs that cause the most deaths in Florida. Those are fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine. Make no mistake about it, these are dangerous drugs. According to the Florida Medical Examiner, fentanyl caused 5,622 deaths in 2022, followed by cocaine with 2,598 deaths, and methamphetamine with 2,193 deaths. The case that we are here to talk about today is a great example of the excellent work that law enforcement does in this community to protect everyone from drugs and drug trafficking. I want to commend these agencies and their investigators for their tremendous accomplishment in removing 30 kilograms of cocaine from the hands of a drug trafficker. Let me tell you a little bit about the case. On May 28th of this year, a deputy with the Columbia County Sheriff's Office and a deputy with the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office were monitoring traffic on Interstate 10 as part of a cooperative interdiction training exercise when they observed Hector Villarreal in a white Hyundai SUV pass their location. After observing Mr. Villarreal's failure to stay in his lane of travel, the deputies conducted a traffic stop after he emerged onto I-75 going southbound. The deputies approached his vehicle. They observed that his hands were visibly trembling and that his chest was moving up and down so rapidly that a deputy asked if he was having a medical emergency. He was not. Several other red flags indicating potential criminal conduct were notable during this traffic stop, which the 2 deputies astutely recognized. First, Mr. Villarreal's Hyundai was a rental vehicle, but he couldn't recall who rented it for him. Second, although Mr. Villarreal stated that he was driving from Pasadena, Texas to Haines City, Florida to visit family, he indicated that he intended to stay only a few days after making what was a 16 to 18-hour drive. Third, after Mr. Villarreal consented to a request to search his vehicle, 3 large, heavy Home Depot cardboard boxes were found. The boxes were taped, and they smelled like Lysol. A can of Lysol was found under the passenger seat of the vehicle. Lysol spray is commonly used in an effort to try to mask the odor of narcotics, but it doesn't impact the ability of a drug detection canine to find drugs. And that's what happened in this case. A drug detection canine from the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office alerted to the taped Home Depot boxes. A search of those boxes resulted in the discovery of 30 individually wrapped kilogram packages of cocaine. Mr. Villarreal was immediately arrested. Yesterday, due to the fine work of these investigators, a federal grand jury has indicted Hector Villarreal for possession with intent to distribute 5 kilograms or more of cocaine. This is a serious charge. If convicted, he faces up to 10 years, a minimum mandatory of 10 years up to life in federal prison. The allegations that I've summarized here today from the indictment and court documents, well, they're just that, they're allegations, and Mr. Villarreal is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. There are 2 points that I want to make in particular about this case. First, and I cannot say this enough, the investigators on this case did excellent police work. Using their training and experience, they discovered an individual involved in the transportation of a significant amount of cocaine using Florida highways. Second, this case shows the incredible teamwork between the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, the Lake City Police Department, and the United States Drug Enforcement Administration. The collaboration on this case is a great example of how law enforcement agencies in this community work to ensure that resources are best deployed to interdict the flow of drugs on our highways. And I'm here today to commend these agencies and their investigators for their outstanding police work that led to the discovery and seizure of 30 kilograms of cocaine intended for distribution in Florida. This case is just one example of the successful cooperation between my office, the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, the Lake City Police Department, and the United States Drug Enforcement Administration and our other law enforcement partners. Over the past several years, our offices have had many successes together. Last year, the Columbia County Sheriff's Office and DEA were part of a team that secured the convictions and federal prison sentences of 12 defendants involved in an armed trafficking organization that distributed synthetic stimulant drugs known as flakka and other narcotics out of trap houses in Jacksonville. The 2 leaders of that organization were both sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. The Columbia County Sheriff's Office and the DEA worked as part of a team on another case where a defendant was sentenced last year to 23 years in federal prison for receiving large amounts of methamphetamine from sources in Mexico, Texas, and Georgia that he transported to Florida for distribution. And they teamed up on cases involving 3 other defendants who were charged in separate federal cases for crimes related to the distribution of federal drugs, distribution of various drugs. Each of those defendants was convicted, and they were sentenced to and will spend significant periods of time in federal prison for their crimes. This good work continued this year. Earlier this year, a Lake City defendant was sentenced to more than 6 years in federal prison for federal violations of drug trafficking and firearms offenses. And we have the case that I'm here to talk about today. 30 kilograms of cocaine stopped from being transported on our highways and distributed in Florida. I have been a federal prosecutor for over 21 years. At times, I have been told that drug traffickers sometimes believe that selling drugs is a path to riches. It is not. It is a path to investigation, arrest, indictment, conviction, and prison. The cases that our offices have prosecuted together in federal court are great examples of what drug traffickers should expect when they seek to distribute dangerous drugs in this community. And that's why I'm so honored to be here today. As a United States Attorney, one of the things I try to do is to highlight the incredible work that is done by law enforcement in the 35 counties that I have the privilege of serving. This case is another great example of that. I'm proud to be here today with these 4 agencies, to commend them on the excellent work that they have done for our community on this very significant drug trafficking case. And I want to commend State Attorney John Dubet and his office for the partnership that our offices have. On a regular basis, federal prosecutors from my office and state prosecutors from the State Attorney's Office confer about cases. The purpose of those conversations and meetings is to work together to find the appropriate court to prosecute drug trafficking cases so that we can ensure that we are doing everything that we can for this community to dismantle the drug trafficking organizations that operate here. I thank State Attorney Dubet for being here today and for his leadership and partnership on the cases that our offices work together. Let this be a message to anyone who seeks to illegally traffic in dangerous drugs in this community. If you seek to transport or distribute deadly drugs in this community, local and federal law enforcement will use every lawful tool that they have to hold you accountable. And if you violate federal law, the United States Attorney's Office will seek to prosecute you in federal court. All of us here today are united together in our mission to keep our community safe. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the sheriff from Lowndes County.
Sure.
You know, when you're in the bottom of Georgia, you got to have a coalition with the Florida sheriffs, and we've had a great one over the years, over my 30-something years as sheriff. This is one of the best I've ever seen right here. When we start south in a chase, or we have something coming down this way, we can depend on Columbia County, Hamilton County. They're wonderful, all the Florida sheriffs, and of course, the prosecutors down this way, they're not bashful either. I'm glad to see that they're working so close. But when we started in '93 on interdiction, we knew we had to build a strong coalition. You can't do it by yourself because they don't see state lines, they don't see county lines, they don't care what they do. So you build a coalition, and we've had the same help up in Lowndes County out of the federal government. We have a wonderful group there, and apparently you have one just as good. But it's been a wonderful thing to build this coalition, and this is probably one of the best I've ever worked with. And one of the other ones is Harold Reed's retiring on me, so you got to fill some big shoes.
Yes, sir.
But thank you for all y'all do.
Again, I want to thank everyone for coming, but I'd be remiss in my duties if I didn't brag on our men and women. And we have some of the folks on the screen can't see all of our members back here behind you, but I wanted them to be here because those are the ones that are out there getting it done. My job is to set them up for success, and I think that this is a result of their collaborative effort. And I always listen to try to listen to my guys. They said they wanted to do this, wanted the training, and that's what we provided to them, and the rest is in the mix there. I can tell you I'm proud of them. I'm proud of our sheriff's office. At this time, we'll take any questions. Yes, sir.
Last week.
What station are you with, sir?
Eric Army from WJC out of
Okay.
Jacksonville. I actually have several questions.
Okay.
Last week, 30 kilos of cocaine washed ashore in Nassau County. Days before that, 30 kilos of cocaine were found floating down in the Florida Keys. And then you got, and obviously I know a month before that, you guys' case, 30 kilos. Is 30 kilos becoming the new norm in terms of trafficking? Is that amount?
Let me just say this, you know, and politics and all that aside, we've got to shut this border down. Drugs used to come into our country by the pound. It's coming in by the tons now. We've got to shut that border down. And these dealers and these traffickers, they'll try all kinds of different things, and that's why we have to stay on the edge with our training that we continuously do and monitor. There's a lot of things that go in. You know, we have analysts, we have people that are working behind the scenes to try to see what type of tactics that they're using, whether they're going to 30-pound loads or whether they're going to 50-pound loads. It may be a trend, you know, and at this point I can't answer that question. Is that what they're doing? It may be, but we're looking at that thing and constantly evaluating. I have to listen to my guys and ask, what do you need? And listen to our analysts. And there's a lot that goes into this that the general public doesn't see. And that's why I'm so proud to be the sheriff here and have such a team that I do.
Another question I had, were these bricks or were they just packaged?
They were, that was bricks, you know, basically.
Being bricks, did they have photos on them, say like an eagle or a 777 or any kind of imprints?
Some of that stuff we're holding on to just kind of work it backwards, okay?
Another question I had too, could you clarify the dollar amount? Because I know you said it was about $1 million for street value, but based on my calculations, that would be close to $1 million for, I guess, for the bricks, but the actual street value, based on my calculations, closer to 4.5 million and not $1 million.
We're being conservative, so I don't want to brag too much. How's that? But they did a heck of a job. And this is going to continue. And this is going to be a fight that we're going to have on our hands as law enforcement, you know, and that's why this whole partnership, and as the sheriff said a while ago, or the attorney said a while ago, there is no borders for criminals. And I mean, there's no county lines. And so we have got to be concerned with what's going on in our adjacent counties, in our adjacent state, because it's all coming. And you know, you look at Columbia County, we're kind of unique. We have two major intersections that come from out of state, and traverses our county, 58 miles of I-75 and 22 miles of I-10. And we're the gateway to Florida. So it's coming through here, and we've been committed to doing this, and that's why I throw accolades towards my guys for saying, hey, can we go up there with Lowndes? They've got it going on. They've mastered it, so why not learn from the masters? You know, we've been doing good training and all, but we're going to go and get some additional advanced training, and the proof's in the pudding.
Where specifically in Florida were these drugs supposed to be delivered?
They were, my understanding was they were en route south,
Haines City.
Haines City. Mhm.
I'm not familiar with county.
And let me just, down Polk County way, but let me just tell you, they have all of these routes, and when we interrupt those routes, or those distribution points, as we would call them, it puts them in a bit of a tailspin. But the drugs may go south, but they're coming back north, because then the mules and all that will take them and then distribute them around. That's why a lot of times these investigations take a while, and the general public, you know, it's like you want your pound of flesh and you want it now. Well, we have to be very methodical. We have to go through all of the legal processes whenever we get ready to charge someone, and that's why it's so important for us to have that collaboration with our state attorney to make sure that our cases are solid, with the U.S. Attorney's Office, you know, and making sure that, and that's what these guys have to train on and do. It's not just out here on the street. The work starts after they make the arrest, really.
You know, 30 kilos is a lot of weight. I know typically when there's a traffic stop, you know, usually it's in grams. Sometimes you may have a half a key or a full key. But for the law enforcement here, you know, that worked on this, can you talk about whether or not it's rare to have that amount, 30 kilos in one stop?
It's an anomaly. I mean, we have had large amounts in the past. And, you know, and there's different trends of drugs that go through. When marijuana was coming through, I mean, I remember a case we had with a significant amount of marijuana in a camper vehicle. And it was a large amount. We've seized a lot of different amounts over the years, but this one here is you know, it needed to be highlighted. We need to show the work that's going on, and we need to let the criminals know, you come through Columbia County, or any of our surrounding counties, this is what you're going to get if we can get on you, and we're going to work it.
Sheriff, can I add one thing on this?
Yes, sir.
On this point? So on the point with respect to the significance of the 30 kilos of cocaine being seized, you know, so I cover 35 counties. We have a number of interdiction cases we do across our district. The reason I'm here today, it is a rare day that we have 30 kilos as part of a case that are traveling through the highways. We have a lot of cases where we have significant seizures. We have an operation in Tampa where we interdict vessels, or the Coast Guard interdicts vessels in the Eastern Pacific or the Caribbean, where there's tons and tons of cocaine. But the reason I'm here today is because the 30 kilos, that is a significant seizure, and it's a significant impact on any drug organization. And so I don't want that to be lost to anyone, just the incredible work, because this case saved lives. Cocaine kills people. And this is thousands of dosage units of cocaine that were intercepted before they could be, as the sheriff said, broken up and distributed all the different ways. So I don't want it to be lost that this is, you know, sort of a regular occurrence where we see this type of weight. You know, it's really through the incredible work of what everyone did here.
Can you talk about, I know you just said that this saves lives, but just from someone who's been covering the whole drug thing for a while, can you talk about how not only does it save lives of the people that may be addicts, but how this may also curb some gun violence that we see in the streets? Because gun violence and drugs do go hand in hand. And 30 kilos, again, that's a lot of cocaine, but I would assume that there could be a lot of violence associated with that amount of cocaine.
I think all of us here are career public servants, and we've been doing this for a long time, and all of us would chime in and say the same thing. Drugs and violence go hand in hand. I mean, when you're talking about, in this case, the seizure of over $1 million wholesale value of cocaine, that is a valuable product. That is something that individuals are going to want to protect. And so we have seen it in our cases. We do see it in our cases. Armed drug trafficking is a top priority, and one of the things I really want to give credit for the Drug Enforcement Administration on is there is no better organization about taking cases like this and following it all the way through, because some of the questions you're going to ask are questions we're not going to have answers to today. But I can tell you from working with these agencies, they're going to follow up on each and every lead. And if there's a violence component, we're going to find it. And we're going to do the best we can to do that. So, there's more work to be done. But because of the significance of the work that has already been done, the incredible work in the course of a single traffic stop, I just really wanted to highlight that. But we're going to continue to focus on any case involving
Do you guys
violence.
anticipate arrests back in the Houston area of Texas where he's from in connection to this one case?
All I can tell you is, and this isn't limited to this particular case, we always follow up on each and every lead. And when I say we, I'm not doing any of this, obviously. I'm talking about the investigators on this case. And we all have different abilities. And so one of the things I really like about the multi-team approach in this case is the two sheriff's offices have combined together to increase their resources to do this important interdiction work. And make no mistake about it, this is a time-intensive investment that they put into these cases, because sometimes, sometimes you might find something, sometimes you might not find something. It's kind of like fishing. Some days you're going to catch something, some days you're not. And then they've teamed up with the Drug Enforcement Administration. So one of the goals we have in my office, and I know working with DEA and our other partners, is to use the abilities of DEA, which has international reach, to follow the source of supply. Our goal at the end of the day in every case we do is dismantlement of the organization to the source of supply. And that's whether that source of supply is across the street, across the state, across the country, or around the world. DEA has that reach. And so what I can tell you is on any case, we're going to have our agents follow up on the leads. And sometimes that will pan out to additional charges, and sometimes it won't. We'll take the evidence where it takes us.
I don't know if you can answer this question, but is the suspect, is he cooperating with your investigation?
Yeah, those are questions, that we don't answer about our cases. He is presumed innocent. He has not yet been arraigned in federal court, so he'll have his opportunity to enter his plea. So there might be more information about that at a later date.
And I understand he has a history of trafficking back in Texas, a history of, so this isn't his first go-around with being caught with cocaine?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with his criminal history. I mean, we're prosecuting him for what he did in this particular case, and that's what we're focused on.
I have a question for Sheriff Hunter. With the interest from your deputies to get this kind of training, do you believe that there is an issue of trafficking here in Columbia County, and have you seen an increase in overdoses here, or do you believe that it's more so this is the
This is a systemic problem, not only statewide but nationwide with the drug trafficking, all the sheriffs, and that's another reason why we're trying to partner together, especially up here in these rural areas where we're limited on resources. And I'm going to tell you, when you speak towards the safety, saving lives, when you start dealing with the flocka and the effects it has on people, we just had a recent case where we responded to an overdose, and some of our responders were contaminated, and actually we had to transport them to the hospital for treatment. We had to Narcan them. So those are some of the dangers that we have out there that the men and women are facing, and that's why we're working so hard, because you think of a child or someone that gets a hold of that, it can kill them if we can't get to them. And this whole thing, we're constantly evolving in law enforcement, constantly, because the criminals are constantly evolving, and we're always having to play catch up because of the things. They have no rules, they have no boundaries. We're training, we're working hard, and I'm proud of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office. I'll take one more question.
I know you kind of touched base on this, but how are you planning to kind of crack down on drug trafficking in Columbia County specifically?
We're continuously working it. This is a good example of it. We have a task force here, the chief and I. We have members of our Sheriff's Office and Police Department that are specifically assigned to that. We've worked on technology. That's one of the big things that has really helped us aiding us in our investigations. The analyst slice of that is just crucial. We're tied into a nationwide network. We work through Florida Department of Law Enforcement with our analyst, where we're getting information on possible suspects. You know, when we're working investigations, we can do a run on an individual, find out what their history is, find out if they're violent, and then if we have to step it up to where we have to call out a specialty team when we go to effect arrest, we're setting our folks up for success. So, thank y'all very much for being here. Appreciate it.